Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with my version of a clean and simple card. This is about as clean and simple as I can go generally, because again, if you watch my videos, you know, I like to add all the things. So, anywho, this card is for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge, and I'll have the link to the challenge as well as the inspiration image on my blog, which will be linked below the video. And when you see the inspiration image, you'll know why I specifically went with this stamp set. I was like, it's perfect. It's meant to be. This is the Strawbeary, like bear, not strawberry, Strawbeary stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. This came out in their Yay release, so a couple months ago, I think. I forget. Such a cute little set. And I picked out some images from it, and I am stamping them onto some of Simon's 120-pound smooth white cardstock using Intense Black ink, which is a Copic friendly ink, because I'm going to color these in with my Copics. And unlike my last video, the one I posted right before this, in that video I did no line coloring over an embossing folder. That was a lot of fun. This time, this is my traditional, like, this is how I color. I go darkest to lightest. It's just a laziness thing. You always have more control when you go lightest to darkest. And whether you're using this cardstock or like say Nina 110 pound, that's another, like the Nina like 110 pound or the 80 pound are also very good Copic cardstocks. I just use Simon's because it's convenient and I've got a lot of it. But the thicker cardstocks do also give you a bit more control. Because like the thicker cardstock has a little more leeway because it can absorb a little bit more ink. Wasn't a big concern with these specific images. I just thought I'd mention that. So at the beginning there, I showed my coloring in what real time is, you know, because I cannot color this fast at all. But that said, it also didn't take very long since I only did a few of the images from the set, not the entire set of images, even though they're so cute. Like seriously, it's a huge stamp set. It's like 6 by 8, and there's, you know, all the little characters and strawberries and leaves and hearts, and it's just, I love it. So I did all of my coloring. You know, I did little bears just in a very kind of light color because I didn't want them to be too busy. Because also, again, it's the Color Throwdown Challenge, and the colors were like red, pink, yellow, and green. So I concentrated more on like the little flowers I did in pink, and then of course the strawberries. So I did my later sort of go-to red shades for the strawberries, which was R27, R24, R22, and even a little bit of R21. If you wanted to intensify it a bit, you could add like R29. That would give a bit more depth to it. And I also used my little technique. I showed this in the last video as well. Just using an acrylic block, and I scribble on a bit of the darkest color. Any non-porous surface will work. And then I picked up that darkest color with my lighter color. So I'd scribbled R27, and I picked it up with, R24, and I picked up with R22 just to blend a little bit. You can do that with your Copics. You can even use like contrasting colors with that. Just make sure to scribble it off on some scrap paper so that you don't contaminate the nibs of your markers. But after over 15 years now of coloring with Copics, I have yet for that to happen. So anyway, got all my coloring done. Did the YGs for the greens. And then once I was done all of my coloring, I'm going to put this back into my MISTI, and I'm going to restamp the images on top using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I don't do this all the time, but I do really like it. It is nerve-wracking because it's like, I just spent all this time coloring, and there have been times I've messed it up and had to restart. It happens. But doing it this way, it just gives like that really black, intense outline that I just love. The difference is so huge. So I stamped it, and then I took my white Jelly Roll 10 pen. This is the widest width of the Jelly Roll pens and my absolute favorite. So I use my white gel pen to add little dots and highlights, not following any sort of formula or rules or anything. I do get asked that when I show adding. It's like, can you do a separate video on adding highlights? Honestly, I probably will never, because I don't have any rules. I don't have any real I just add them where I think they'll look good. I don't really think about it. I just little lines here and there, little dots here and there. It just adds that little extra bit of texture. I'm not trying to go for like realism or really show like this is where the light would show a highlight. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the artist for that. There are many more out there that give way more like technical info and all that if you really want to amp up your coloring. I'm just doing whatever I think looks good. So once I added on my little highlights, I used the coordinating wafer dies, taped them into place with washi tape, die cut them. And then I grabbed a couple scraps of cardstock from my stash. And one of the sentiments from the set, I just stamped with that same Nocturne ink. And then this little thinking of you sentiment, I stamped with clear embossing ink after I had used my anti-static powder tool. And then I coated it with white embossing powder, melted that with my heat tool. And then this sentiment, I just fussy cut with my little cutter bee scissors. Just normally I'm all about using like if there's a coordinating wafer die. If there had been one for the sentiments, I would have used it, but there wasn't. This was easy to quickly just cut out. So I did it. Otherwise, I would just use my paper trimmer like I'm going to do with the other sentiment and just trim it out. But again, this was pretty quick and easy. So I trimmed this one out. And then for that little one that I stamped on the pink cardstock, that one I trimmed out with my paper trimmer. I'm more comfortable with like curvy fussy cutting, like trying to cut a straight line with my scissors. Doesn't usually work. So trim down the other sentiment with my paper trimmer. And then I have a panel here of white cardstock that is smaller than my A2 card front. And I'd kind of laid everything out so I knew where I wanted it to go. And then I took some of Simon's Celery Positively Saturated ink, so just a nice light green ink, and a blending brush. And I very lightly blended this onto the cardstock, like just light. Again, for me, it's like trying to find that balance between, adding little bits and not going completely overboard. This is why I struggle with clean and simple. So I added that little bit of the green ink, and then I adhered all my little elements with just thin 3D foam squares that a lot of times I trim down, to fit behind all the little parts. And then adhered them all into place. And then I have a second panel of white cardstock here, also lined up in my MISTI. And I'm going to stamp a couple little sentiments with that Nocturne ink. And once I have those stamped, you can see I've got my little image that's going to go on the inside. Once I have those stamped, I'm going to take the little berry sentiment, and that one I'm going to ink up with Simon's Blush Positively Saturated ink. And I stamp that twice just to get it a little deeper. And then I can adhere my little bear holding the little strawberry right under it with some craft tacky glue. So I did that on a separate panel because I decided to make my card base from some red cardstock, the same red cardstock I used for the sentiment. So this will be a top folding A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And once I had the card base, I put Studio Katia foam tape on the back of my card front panel, and then pop that into place. And then the panel for the inside of the card, I adhered with craft tacky glue. And as always, it could be done here. It looks cute, but this is my version of clean and simple. I didn't add a bunch of splatter, and glitter and all the things. So I just added a little bit of bling. And by little, I mean more than, whatever. So I have some little like heart-shaped embellishments as well as some little pink pearls, and just kind of sprinkled those around the image. And then adhered them into place with dabs of the craft tacky glue using my little Studio Katia embellishment wand. And then once I've got everything adhered, I'm going to pair this card with a lemon chiffon envelope from Simon. And that's going to finish it off. So like I mentioned earlier, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. And then I'll have a link to the color throwdown challenge and the inspiration photo all at in said blog post. And of course, I will also have all the supplies I used listed and linked, so you can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.